I feel like I'm living in this jumper. It was a birthday gift. It's from Marks and Spencer's. It is so soft. Like, the inside of it is the softest thing in the world. I love it. Thanks. Hello everybody, welcome back. If you have not been here before, my name is Debbie. I need a cup of tea. I read a lot of books. This time I have got The Girls by Emma Cline. Now, I recently read a different book called The Girls by a different author, so I feel like I have to go back to the other video and put the author's name in the video, because a lot of the time I just put the name of the book and then Debbie's bookshelf. But this time I couldn't do that because otherwise I'd have two videos with exactly the same name. So this was an audiobook read by Emma Cline, and I think this was the first book. This was the debut novel, and it's interesting because I read The Guest first, and I quite enjoyed it, with the fact that it was narrated by somebody who's extremely unlikable, what you're reading through their life as they make really questionable choices, and I don't know why, but that kind of thing is, even though it's frustrating, I actually found it quite an interesting way to go through somebody who's so unlikable and making such stupid choices, and there's points when you want to throw your book across the room because they're being so stupid, but I enjoyed it. It's like I kind of like enjoy being frustrated. What does that say about me? But yeah, I went in kind of blind to this one, but I remember seeing from the reviews of The Guest that The Guest wasn't as good as this one, so I was very intrigued. So I knew very little going in to this book, and I actually had to restart it because I got to about an hour in to the book, and it's 9 hours and 45 minutes to listen to. I got about an hour in, and when I actually thought about it, I realised that nothing had gone in. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea what has happened in that first hour of listening to this book. So I restarted it, and I was actually on training at work at the time, so I didn't really get a chance to listen to it. And then I just had a day where it was just like, right, I'm going to get on and listen to this, because it's 9 hours 45 minutes. It's feasible to do in a day if I don't do anything else. So I put it on to double speed. ×2 people, because I was in a case of like, I am ready to take this in, and my brain was working a million times a minute. So it's just like, this is the day to settle in, listen to it, and I don't know why me listening to it on double speed makes me concentrate more. Probably because it's faster, but I was just in that mood of just like, I'm getting this done. And again, I had a moment of thinking, what is actually happening? But then the further you get in, it starts to pick up. I haven't even read the blurb to you. So, yeah, if you're a kind of person who doesn't like being read the blurb, you can skip this bit, that's absolutely fine. But for those who cannot be bothered to read the blurb and want to hear somebody else do it, that's where I come in. Alright. Northern California during the violent end of the 1960s. At the start of summer, a lonely and thoughtful teenager, Evie Boyd, sees a group of girls in the park and is immediately caught by their freedom, their careless dress, and their dangerous aura of abandon. Soon, Evie is enthralled to Suzanne, a mesmerising older girl, and is drawn into the circle of a soon-to-be infamous cult, and the man who is its charismatic leader. Hidden in the hills, their sprawling ranch is eerie and run down, but to Evie it is exotic, thrilling, charged, a place where she feels desperate to be accepted. As she spends more time away from her mother and the rhythms of her daily life, and as her obsession with Suzanne intensifies, Evie does not realise she is coming closer and closer to unthinkable violence. So, you may have figured it out from the blurb, and I probably would have figured it out if I'd read the blurb at first as well, but there was a point when I was listening to it for the second time and I'd restarted it, and I just thought, I should probably read the blurb to help me kind of get into like the mindset for reading this, well, for listening to this book. So, you probably understand that this was inspired by the Manson murders, and how it's just an interesting one on how cults can happen and how easily manipulated people are. Because Evie is, at first, she just comes across as somebody who is young, she's looking to older people for advice, but at the same time she doesn't really want the advice of her parents. The lure of a little bit more freedom is always there, and that's why it makes it, I mean, she basically creates an obsession with Suzanne. I mean, there is a point when she has a three-way with Suzanne and somebody else. Yeah, it is very sexually charged, this book. I think as a teenager, Evie is going through things, hormones, and figuring out what she wants to do with her life, and this is at a point where she's just like, she just wants to be careless and free, and she's not getting that at home. So these group of girls in the park are enticing her with a way of life that is complete opposite to what she is currently living, and that lure is real. And so as it gets further into the book and it starts to get darker, and you start to realise what's happening in regards to the cult that is being created. And the fact is, I don't remember they actually using the word cult in the book, but it soon becomes very clear that that's what this is. And I say that as somebody who did not read the blurb when I first started the book. I think I was about halfway through the book when things had started to pick up more that I finally read the blurb. So it was just like, first time round, I realised nothing was going in. I did it a second time and it was just like, no, I think it's just the pacing is just a bit different to what I'm used to, and I just need to, I'm not a person to like stop reading a book. I'm not a do not finish DNF person. I will always give something a go, even if it takes that little bit longer, because the fact is, I'm a quick reader anyway, so the idea of taking something a bit slower is not completely, like, outside the realm of possibility for me. It can annoy me when I'm reading a bit slower, just because it's not what I'm used to. Yeah, it's just, there's something about the way it's written that definitely lends itself to a slightly slower pace. It wasn't quite edge of my seat kind of stuff, even as it started to delve further into what was essentially murky waters in regards to what Evie was ready to put up with. And it's interesting when she describes the ranch to somebody who's not in it, and it's like, oh, that sounds so amazing. And then, because I think, was it a taxi driver that she mentions it to? No, it's when she hitchhikes. There's a point when she hitchhikes to the ranch, and she's explaining like how everybody lives, and it's just like, oh, that sounds amazing. And then they turn up and the ranch looks horrible and derelict, and he's just like, this isn't at all what you described to me. And then Evie looks at it, she's just like, something's wrong, but this is still better than home. So you just realise just how far down the rabbit hole she actually is at that point, and the fact that there isn't really any turning back no matter what she does, and no matter what everybody else does. I feel like I'm being fairly careful about the plot of this one, just because it is like a rabbit hole situation, and she's just getting further and further down, and in this case there is no way out. It's like, there's no up, it's all down, 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 until you've reached rock bottom. And in this case, as you can probably imagine from the fact that it is inspired by the Manson murders, that someone gets killed. More than one person gets killed. So I don't think that's a spoiler, knowing that it is based on Charles Manson. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. It's an interesting one to talk about because of how dark it is. I will say I did enjoy Katie McLean narrating it. She has a very good voice for audiobooks. I am intrigued as to how I will go with other Emma Cline books, because as I said, I did enjoy The Guest. It's a very different pace from The Guest, is this one. But there's also a book here called Daddy. That's an audiobook, and that one's read by Natasha Sudek. And it's fiction, but it's like the opposite of Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. It's just like exploring the fault lines of power between men and women and things, and it's just like, it feels like the opposite to Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. In this case, it's men and it's fiction. So yeah, I am wondering how I will get on with that. I think it's just, there's a very particular pacing to Emma Cline. Yes, it was different between the two books, but there is something about the pacing there which is very interesting, and I don't really know how to describe that. But yeah, I am intrigued by Daddy, and it says it's a short story collection, but it's 3 stories about Like it says, considers the dark corners of human experience, exploring the fault lines of power between men and women, parents and children, past and present. So yeah, but yeah, just looking at it and looking at what they're possibly trying to talk about, it does feel like almost the opposite of Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. Obviously, I'll find out if that is true when I actually read it, and that one is an audiobook, so I don't think I've got any reserves left on audiobooks, so I'll just have to pop that into my reading list for now until I have the room. So that was The Girls by Emma Cline, and I feel like I didn't say that much about it, but I think it is just one of those ones that you do need to read. I feel like I say that about a lot of books, but I will say just be... Is that on the inside? I've been watching this bug for like making 3 videos and I'm trying to work out if it's on the inside or the outside. Thing is, it just moved and it felt like it came into the room, but I have no idea. Like a crazy person. Yeah, it was interesting. It was getting used to the pace of it because it's quite different, and to be honest, I felt like it just started off slower. And yes, it did pick up. But sometimes I like stuff that starts with a really nice hook in, and it just didn't quite get me in that first section. I kind of like, it was one of those, I'll give it a go, I'll keep going, and finally it hooks me in about halfway through. So yeah, if you don't mind a slightly slower pacing and that kind of like, we're reeling you in situation, that's what this book did to me. It started off slow and then it just slowly reeled me in until I didn't realise I'd been caught. That is the best description of how I felt reading this book. Yeah, so The Girls by Emma Cline. Does that entice anybody? Yeah, if you've read this book before, do let me know what you thought about it, and I'd love to hear what other people say about comparing The Girls to The Guest, just because it's from the same author, and from some of the reviews people think that this was the better one, whereas because of how I like my books, I was more enticed by The Guest than I was The Girls. So it's a very interesting premise, looking at somebody who is brought in. Actually, I just seen what it... Having said how I felt about this book, I think it's similar to what happens to Evie, isn't it? That hook, line, sinker kind of thing. Because Evie is slowly drawn into this group to the point where there's no return. I think I figured out what it did to me. It was putting me in Evie's position of finding herself in the cult and not realising in it until it was too late. Clever. Very clever. But yeah, The Girls, Emma Cline. I can't believe it did that to me. I can't believe it. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. And yeah, let's try and get some moving vlogs edited and watch a bit of Zoella, shall we? And also I'm binge watching Private Practice at the moment, and I am literally at the halfway point of the 2nd season. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any recommendations for me, please let me know. As you can see, my taste is quite eclectic, so if you've got a book that you're just like, oh, like I wouldn't normally recommend, just go for it. Absolutely go for it. Because like, I will read sci-fi, like I will read rom-coms, I will read kids books, I will read murder mysteries because they're my favourite. I will literally read anything and I will not give up on it. I'm just thinking there has to be something in here, and usually I find that something, or I might get to the end and just feel really frustrated and want to throw it again across the room, which I've done with a couple of books. But as long as it makes me feel something, I feel like it's done its job. So yeah, thank you, and I will see you next time with another video. I love you all so much, and again, if you want to get the softest jumper in the world, it's these ones. I think it comes in white, it might come in other colours, I have no idea, but yeah, it's got this pocket situation, which is a nice secure place if you want to pop anything, because it's got a proper button and everything. And also, I think we're going to size up, so it's like nice and long and baggy, and it's the softest thing I've ever worn. So yeah. Thank you, I'll see you next time. I love you all. Bye. Stay safe. Bye.